Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the CCA California podcast. My name is Chris, your host of the podcast. Today, we've got a very, very special guest. Once again, Matt from Chovy Art. Looking forward to getting our conversation on with him. Guys, just a quick note. Super, super grateful for all the support, all the love being shown to us on the podcast. But, you know, I can't really thank you guys enough. But also, we could definitely grow. Definitely looking forward to growing, have more of an outreach and all that. So make sure you're giving us 5-star reviews. Make sure you're sharing the podcast with any friends. Hopefully, it's been an absolute pleasure doing it for you guys. Hopefully, it's been a good time listening. But super grateful for all the support thus far. And guys, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram at CCA California. Love to see all you guys there. Well, we've got Matt from Chovy Art. Matt, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, man. How have you been? I know it's been, I think, at least a year since I last saw you.
Yeah, just busy. Very busy. Big thing for me is I got a 1.5-year-old, so that's
That keeps you busy.
taking a little of my time these days. And then I also have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, so it's kind of a whirlwind of dealing with kids, trying to do the art stuff, and real job, and obviously fishing. So that's the kind of what's going on right now. I don't get out as much as I used to, but looking forward to this season and maybe having a little bit more time out there.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I mean, 3 kids, that's a full-time job in itself, for sure.
Yeah, the weird thing is I was good, and I kind of forgot the walking and putting stuff in your mouth stage. So everything was going pretty good, and now it's a lot of chasing and just kind of it's tough. So we're trying to get through that stage, and then should be all good.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle.
I can't speak from experiences quite yet, but I know what you're talking about, having nieces and nephews. But
so it's just judging time, I'd say, is become ever more important these days for me.
Yeah. Well, speaking of time, I mean, I know you haven't been out much as of late, but you have any big plans for 2022? Any trips coming up?
Yeah, I think the big thing, we've been messing around a little bit with the yellowtail in La Jolla. So it's been a little slow down there. There's been a couple good days here and there, but I think everybody out there is just waiting for those tuna to come back in. So
yeah,
that's really the big excitement for this upcoming year. And yeah, we want to get out there, and we got a little bit into that kite stuff last year. So we were able to get some fish going on the kite and the balloons. So that's probably what we'll be pushing this year.
Nice.
Blew my mind. I mean, if you put a bait out, we're using the frozen flyers.
Yep.
And for a long time, guys were trolling them, right? You got the yummies back behind the boat, which is great, but we're taking them now and just sending them off the side of the boat. So
yeah,
it's unbelievable to be able to put a prehistoric, huge flying fish, very expensive flying fish too, because they're not cheap.
Not
but
cheap
to be
at
able
all.
to put that fish, rig it up, get it up in the air, send it out, and just sit there. And you're just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
It might be 3-4 hours. It depends. So sometimes the school will be down there for a while. They're not biting. Sometimes you're in that zone. But it is unbelievable to have that bait sitting there and see a fish come up and just blow up on it. And so that kind of changed my mind on fishing and like what brings me excitement. I mean, I've been doing a lot of different types of fishing, but 2022 I think is going to be the year of chasing after the bluefin.
So are you one of those guys, kind of like the majority of, I guess, guys fishing bluefin right now off Southern California, where I think maybe like 2015, 2016, when all these things started popping up, were you learning on the on the fly?
Thank you for asking that question. It's kind of a strange story. I got into fishing halibut, so that was my big thing. I used to fish the bays a lot. I probably spent a good 4 years out there, San Diego Bay, just having different spots. Off of Point Loma, there's a lot of good spots I used to fish, so that was my main thing. I was taking my little skiff out and just sitting there, dragging baits around, and so I did that for a solid 4 years or so, and then 2015 came around. Not an offshore fisherman.
Yeah.
kind of new to the offshore scene. I had a boat, had a 2-stroke on it. It ran, but it wasn't something you really wanted to charge too far out on. So I had that boat, and I started making small trips, just going to the 9 and places like that. And that year turned into just, my God, it changed my life. I mean, the stuff I was seeing, and it wasn't just the fishing. It was the other stuff you're seeing out there too. Hammerheads, pelagic rays. You got marlin that are a couple miles off the beach. Just crazy stuff that we were seeing. So my experience in offshore fishing was 2015, 2016, 2017, those years. I wasn't as busy with the kids stuff too. And I did fish a lot, or I had a lot of guys that were much older than me. They've been fishing the area for 20 years, 30 years.
Right.
And they were pissed. They're like, you better appreciate this, because this doesn't normally happen. But those were some crazy years. I got a nice wahoo, got into the tuna, the dorado.
I was just about to say that was the same year the wahoo popped up right off the point.
Oh yeah. So I made a little map. I remember that, those old plastic maps that you have.
Right.
And I got some numbers, and I made a triangle. Went out there, just worked that triangle. Got a bit off once, lost one next to the boat. Decided to head back in. I'm on the way home, pissed off. And it was like, if you lose a fish like that next to the boat, it's 0 to 0 pretty quickly, right?
It's worse than losing it just right off the bat.
So, and being a wahoo that you've never seen or experienced. So, with that, I remember driving back in. I had to be somewhere at 11 o'clock. I'm heading back in. Fuck it. I'm over it. I hear somebody on the radio said they just got a double hookup.
Of course.
And I'm like, wow. Guy's voice, I could just hear the excitement. I look at my watch, and I had about 40 minutes, so I just, I'm like, dude, let's just set the alarm. Let's just go for it.
Yeah.
Got back out to the 9. Trolled around for like half hour, put a lure out. I got bit on that one. I brought that one in. It's all chewed up. Had one other lure out, and I just gunned it into gear. And the second I did that, a nice big wahoo came up and ate it.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
So that to me is probably the holy grail of experiences. Seeing that fish, deep color, and then watching it come up. I mean, with art and things like that, it's a lot of color.
Yeah.
And to see those colors, to see those stripes, to see all that stuff, just mind blowing.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And then the patterns of all the fish changing each year is strange too. But I don't know if we'll ever get another 2015, 2016, but
yeah. Well, so how is the adjustment for you personally between fishing for halibut or being a halibut guy, all the way to fishing freaking wahoo right off the point?
Yeah, it's
that's kind of a learning curve.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was a lot of getting out there and trolling.
Yeah.
So, there's probably the easiest way to catch a wahoo is to put a lure back there. It's not hard to drive with a lure back there. It's more about knowing where they are,
Right.
But I spent a lot of years just with those trollers out. Nice. 2015, 2016, bluefin trolling.
Yeah.
Yellowfin trolling, So there was a lot of fish that they were hungry to bite those years. So, different methods worked well. Not so much these years though, So stuff's changing every single year. I think fish were just there. They were super hungry.
Yeah.
And they were aggressive. I remember I went out. It was probably my first bluefin trip I went out on. I didn't make it very far off the point. Put out Halco, lure, trolling it, bluefin bit, and pull that one in, throw the lure back out. 5 minutes later, another one bites, drop a lure down, instant hookup, that comes in. That's when the limits were, more than 2, but
right.
It was wild that they were eating that way, and it was just, I don't want to say it was easy, but it wasn't hard to catch good fish if you were out a lot, putting in the time, maybe not being that skilled.
Yeah.
in those years.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. And with every year that we have bluefin and all that, we're getting better and better, and it always seems to be a new recipe every year.
Oh yeah.
I remember when the Yummy Flyer came
Yep.
out, that was the thing you needed.
Yep.
Year after that, it was like the Fresh Dead Flyer.
Yep.
Now we're doing plastic flyer.
Yep.
It's unreal.
So yeah, and you got the weird thing is it's all true.
Yeah.
It's like people, the guys that are out there know, on a daily basis, they know what works.
Yeah.
And the fish, they do change their patterns and how they're eating and what they want. And I think we're as fishermen, we're just getting more refined on how to make it work.
And I think they also, it seems like the bluefin show up earlier and earlier every year too.
Yeah.
I mean, quite honestly, I don't think they really will ever leave.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason to.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And then if you want to jump just to last year,
Yeah.
I didn't get out as much. It maybe wasn't as crazy of a season, but there were days where we were on our cell phones. We were 2 miles from
Yeah, that is true.
2 miles from the beach, 150-pound fish all over the surface, everywhere. Going from school to school to school, and you couldn't make it offshore or get out there without running by fish. We had days where we were chasing them into Blacks Beach. And that's, I don't know if that's ever happened before. They've been in that close. So it's wild, man. And it's just so many things are changing, and it's just constantly evolving. So
I remember last year, I think it was in August or September. I was running a half-day rockfish trip off La Jolla.
Yep.
And I kid you not, I see a spot of bluefin off the coast. I'm like, yeah, let's go get bluefin.
Yep.
It was one of those days where they just weren't biting at all.
Yeah.
So that's
we ran into quite a few of those.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was literally in the middle of a rockfish drift, and bluefin were all around us.
Yeah.
And I told my customers saying, "Well, enjoy it.
Yeah.
We're gonna be tuna watching right now."
Yeah. No, and I that's a good point, because there's a couple guys in La Jolla. That's what they do. They rockfish, and they're out there on their trips, and they're hinting to us, "Hey, there's bluefin out here, dude."
Yeah.
So, so it's interesting, evolving, and trying to keep up with it. And I don't think it's going to stop changing. It just seems as though, we're going to adapt and change as things go.
Yeah. Well, so let's kind of get into you, man. I know, your brand is Chovy Art.
Yep.
It's some really, really rad stuff.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about it. How did that come up?
So the art stuff, we could talk a little bit about like in the past when I was a kid and all that stuff. Obviously, comic books were a big thing for me.
Okay. Which ones?
That's a good question. Like Iron Man. And,
Okay.
Was it Swamp Thing or some of those ones? So I just like weird stuff, man. I just like cool graphics and stuff that looks different than you typically see of what's called art. So I started with the comic books. I played soccer.
Okay.
I was from probably 11 till about 19, and I was traveling every week. I was a traveling soccer team.
Okay. So you were good.
Yeah, I was pretty good. So I played soccer, and that was through the 80s and 90s, which was also a time when there was a huge movement in graffiti.
Oh, okay.
And every weekend, what I'd be doing is I'd be sitting in the back of, we had a station wagon, I'd be sitting in the back of that station wagon in those back seats, spending 2 hours, 3 hours driving through LA, back and forth through LA, different areas. And I started seeing that stuff, and it kind of blew my mind at first. I was like, what is this? Why is it here? Who are these guys?
Yeah.
So after seeing all that stuff, I started to form a vision of what art could be, and it's different. It's not the same art you see in a museum, but it's different art. And I kind of went in that direction. I had a lot of friends that were super into it, but it was the stuff that I saw on the freeways. It was the stuff I saw skateboarding through tunnels. Just being a kid, and I was a skater kid, surfer kid, so it was kind of in the places where I was, there was this art, this unknown art that wasn't accepted, but it was there. And the thing that I want to say is some of these guys were pretty damn good artists. and they obviously weren't getting credit for it. I'm not talking about writing and scribbling your name on something. I'm not talking about doing some bubble letters or something like that. We're talking about full on, colors, characters, stuff like that. Not an accepted art form until now, which is weird. I'm seeing a lot more push into that. I get guys they'll hit me up and they'll say, "Hey, can you throw some of that lettering on there? Can we get a little bit of that on there?" And it's like, really? Okay, I got you. So a lot's changed, and obviously with the internet and stuff like that. But that was kind of my upbringing of what art was to me. It's colorful, it's loud. Skateboard graphics. So I used to be a skater, so Creature and all the skateboard decks. That's what interests me.
Nice.
Just a quick story. I remember one time my buddy was, I think we were about 15 or something, and we said we wanted to check out some art. And his mom said, "Oh, that's great. I know a bunch of museums we can go to." She was going to take us somewhere for the day. And we looked at each other and just started laughing. I'm like, "Hey, a museum? What the hell are we going to do at a museum? How about you just take us to Venice and we'll go hang out in the Pit, which is a graffiti area where there's live painting going on, there's music, you're outdoors." So that was kind of where my love of art is from. I'm not super into other forms of art that came in the past. I'm not, there's names that get thrown around from a long time ago. I don't diss those guys. Some of them are very, very talented. Their stuff's in museums. You walk in there, you're quiet, right? You're dressed up real nice. There's no noise. You get to stand far away from somebody else just so you don't, mess up their attention span while they're staring at this thing. To me, that was never art. Not in my opinion. Art to me it's loud, it's aggressive. There's colors, there's styles. You may be doing it where there's other people around you. And I think that's a big thing going forward, is this different type of art that's being pushed by the younger generation.
I get what you mean, because when you're in that kind of setting in a museum where it's super quiet, it's almost to an extent uncomfortable depending on the person. And when everything's kind of going on, the focus isn't on you, it's on the art.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Totally. I mean, just an example, you see something you want to yell out, that's fucking rad. You do that at a museum, you get kicked out. So that was kind of my upbringing of what I liked in art. How I became an artist it's almost a big joke. And we'll get into that, but I started an Instagram page, mainly for fishing, to put my stuff on there. I came up with a name. We used to sit in our boat when we were in the bay and drinking beers and just making up names and stuff. My buddy, I think we coined him Lance. His name was Lance, and we named him Lance Bass.
Nice.
So he got that one. My other buddy, I think, was the Brown Shad. And my buddy Matt, he came up with this Bon Chovy.
Okay.
And it kind of started wearing on me. I'm like, Bon Chovy? That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, that made me laugh.
Are you a fan?
Not particularly. I'm not saying his music's not good, but it wasn't because of that. But, so I basically, a couple weeks went by, a month went by, and I was like, dude, I'm taking that name. So I started off as Bon Chovy.
Nice.
Banner, Bon Chovy on it, everything Bon Chovy. It's a joke, I'm having fun, I'm making art, people are laughing. My boat at the time was named Bon Chovy as well.
Oh, that's cool.
I used to get neighbors that would walk down the street and they'd just start laughing. And I'd be like, cool, I'll leave it like that. So that was my introduction to art, was this Bon Chovy thing. I made a couple art pieces. They sold. And I was just like, whoa, people are buying this stuff. And this was new stuff to me. It's not as though I had been painting for years and years and years. It was probably about 7 years ago when I actually got back into art. And so I started pushing that, and it was all kind of a joke, Bon Chovy. I'll do this art. It's funny. It's wild. It's this is what it is. And so that went on for a year or two, and I started to sell more stuff. I started to get more feedback. a lot of positive feedback. And at some point I dropped the ball on Chovy. I'm like, dude, I don't want to be cruising around. There's a guy that lives down the street from me. He's got a van. I think he's Italian. He drives down the street, and every time he sees me, he just yells out, Bon Jovi! And I'm like, yeah. So I switched at some point over to Chovy, and I got a little bit more serious. My art and kind of where I've gone with it it's really an accident. I never particularly said, hey, I want to be an artist. It was positive reinforcement.
Okay.
And it's weird to think, but it was just comments. Hey, that's cool. Hey, that's neat. Hey, I like that. It just small stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't even like it. Maybe they just said that. But that was kind of, I was getting all of that. So people were telling me this stuff. And what it got to is a point, like, I don't want to let these people down. If I'm doing something they think's cool, I want to make sure the stuff I'm doing is always going to be cool so people like it, or this crowd likes it. And from there, it kind of just evolved. I jump a lot between a serious career job and the art stuff, so it's been just a constant battle. It's tough. One side of me says, this is what you're meant to do, this is what you need to be doing, and then obviously you've got the family and the bills that need to be paid. So it's been a struggle for, the past 3 or 4 years, just trying to make it all happen and make sure the art doesn't die. Every time I step away and say, hey, I'm going to focus on jumping back into a serious life and focus on this career, there's one asshole out there, one guy that says, hey, you think you could pay me a Marlin, or can you make me a Dorado?
Of course.
And it's like, man, I'm trying to get my stuff together over here.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? And it's always those little things where somebody reaches out that just brings me full back into it. So
That's
any time I'm kind of suffering or thinking, hey, this isn't going to work, there's one guy out there that wants something. And I go through a lot of getting all the stuff I need to do. So I'll have one canvas of this, one canvas of that, and then I'll go through periods where I don't have a lot going on at all. So it kind of comes in waves. I will say the one big thing for me is once something's done and it's out there, it's kind of like marketing yourself, because people see it and they say, hey, I want one of those, or can you do that for me, and that kind of stuff. 6 or 7 years ago, I was doing anything you could see in the ocean. So sharks, jellyfish. Got a few mermaids out there that I
nice.
Not by choice, but So it was really anything that's in the water, in the ocean. I'll paint. I'm still that way today. But at some point when the 2015, 2016, 2017 all that tied in, I couldn't not paint what I was seeing.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite fish to draw is a Dorado, mahi.
I could see why.
You pick that thing up, it's the most bright. I mean, you can't find those colors. I mean,
It's a beautiful fish.
Yeah, you could find those colors, but you can't really,
Yeah.
So you're looking at this thing. It's bright purple. It's bright blue. It's changing colors. It's got the green in it. It's got the yellow in it, and it's like that. That's where my art is right there. That's what I want to capture.
So are you more of a blue Dorado guy or a green, or a little bit of both?
Most of mine will be, most of the ones I've done are yellow and green.
Okay.
I love greens.
Yeah.
But there'll be some blue and white ones for sure in the future.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So what phase are you in right now? Are you in the more serious phase, or?
Yeah, so I don't really, it's been probably 2 years since I've really, kind of weird to say, but I worked a serious job. It's mostly art stuff that I'm getting by on right now.
Okay.
It's weird because, so I do website. I don't actually do the design, but my wife does the designs. I do all the sales.
Nice.
And it's tough because I'll sell a website, say the price on it's $4,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
and it's for this company. You think once you made that sale, you'd be happy, right? You know, hey, cool, dude. We made all this, you know, good portion of money. Things are going good. What I get from that is, hey, why wasn't the shit done yesterday?
Yeah.
So living a life of, you know, I've been doing sales for 20 years. Living a life of every single thing you do is not appreciated. I don't want to say it's not appreciated, but it's looked at differently. It's all bottom line, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's a lot different. When I do a painting and I hand it to somebody, I'm fucking pumped, dude. Fuck that, you know, fuck that $5,000, $4,000 website.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just sold a painting for $200. This guy's stoked out of his mind. I'm stoked out of my mind. That's happiness, you know? That to me, that's...
It's personal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It gives me the ability to share with people, which I didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always, hey, I'm just drawing this fish. Hopefully somebody buys it. I get people contacting me. Hey, I caught this fish. Here's a picture of it. Mm-hmm. This is what it weighed. This is why this is important to me. Can you replicate this somehow with your drawing?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can spend my time doing that stuff, I'm a lot happy, much more of a happy camper.
Yeah, I can see.
And I'm not by any means saying, you know, you don't want to take care of what you need to do to get by.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're passionate about something, some of that stuff gets in the way. And it, you know, it takes time. Everything revolves around time. So my biggest goal, I guess, in life is just to be able to push my art and to get it out there. If I make money doing it, great.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I'm happy.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You know, it's a lot of people don't realize this, but even if you have money and you got a solid job and you got all this stuff going, you could be miserable.
Yeah.
You might not be as happy. And the biggest thing for me is I knew that working at that other stuff was taking away from where I really wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe it'll all come back to bite me in the ass. Maybe it won't. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go forward and look back and say, hey, I didn't try. That's what scares me. It's just, you know, it's all over. You're done. What have you done? And I want to look back and say, hey, you know, I was able to share stuff with people. It's a much better life for me. Being active, the fishing community.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say enough. It's a little tough to get in. It's not the easiest community just to walk into and say, this is who I am. Here's my stuff. There's a lot of, who are you? You know, what are you doing here? So there's a lot of that. But I will say one thing: once you're accepted in that community, you get a lot of support, man. That's the reason why most of my stuff is fish. I do get requests to paint other stuff, but it's 80% are fishermen who want something that means something to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's a fish they caught or something they saw. So it's, you know, it's really cool knowing that I share the same passion with people that I'm doing work for.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing is I made a lot of friends just through art. It's crazy. If I wasn't doing art, I probably wouldn't know anywhere close to the amount of people that I've met,
Mm-hmm.
just by being able to share that stuff with people.
So do you have more of like a catalog online that you kind of draw back to, or do you kind of take special requests?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. I'd say my bread and butter are the prints you see up on the wall right there.
Yeah.
So that's probably 60% of what I do is they're completed. They're ready to go. It's easier for me. They're a good price point. So if somebody wants a piece of art, but they maybe don't have a huge budget, you know, you can probably afford a print. So it's good. And I do a lot of that at shows. The prints do really good, and I have them on the website. I'll tell you one thing though. Instagram.
Yeah. It's a magical tool.
I don't advertise. I don't push my website. I don't do as many things as I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
but for some reason, Instagram just brings me business. So through that, I'll get a lot of print orders. Custom stuff is the other side of most of the stuff I'm doing as far as canvas work is custom order.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do a lot of that. And then right now, everything's just kind of changed as well. I'm getting into the digital stuff, and that's taken up a good portion of time, like the logo stuff. So
Yeah. Well, so when you do customized order, are people sending pictures of their own fish that they caught into you, and you're kind of recreating it?
yeah, I'll get some of that. Some people will just say, "Hey, I want a really cool looking mahi," or "You did something before. I want something like that." And the neat thing is too, a lot of people will just say, "Hey, just do what you want to do, but I need this fish because it's my favorite fish. It's important to me."
Mm-hmm.
So there, yeah, a lot of it is creating specific custom canvases for clients.
That's very cool, man.
Yeah.
So I know, the fishing community has treated us well. It's treated
Yep.
you well. Anything off the top of your head that we've probably all seen that you've actually been the mastermind behind? Well,
I do have, I mean, there are some, I say the biggest thing I have right now is the logo stuff and designing shirts for people and logos and things like that. So I've got a lot of jobs I'm working on doing that. But other than that, no, it's been mostly me just selling my artwork. I've done, Leucadia has been really nice to me, the city of Leucadia. I've done a couple banners for them that they've hung up on the Highway 101.
oh, sweet.
I'm working on, there's a nice, still haven't completed, it's taken forever, but there's a 20-foot mural I'm working on in a house in PB for a fisherman. So I do get, they're kind of all over the place, I get some guys saying, "Hey, can you come spray paint the side of my house?" And other guys saying, "Can you draw me a logo?" And then I'll jump back to, "Hey, I need a print," or "I want this drawn." So it's, you kind of got to move all over the place to survive. And it's different. Obviously, the big canvases take a lot longer. A lot more effort goes into those. I kind of have a weird working schedule. I kind of need to be in the moment to work on something. So some of those canvases take quite a while. Smaller stuff, obviously, it's easier to get in there and do. But yeah, I've done mostly a lot of custom artwork for individuals, and East Coast has also been a big source for me too.
Really?
Which was surprising to me. But then they got Dorado, and they got their fish out there. They got their tuna and all that stuff. So
Well, that makes sense.
that's been a really good too, and I can't praise Instagram enough for giving me the opportunity to share with so many people. It's wild.
I mean, speaking of Instagram, it's been kind of one of those things where, especially for the fishing community, where it's been a blessing in disguise. Where, everyone's hitting me up for our Instagram, or everyone's finding us on Instagram as opposed to Facebook or any other channel out there. And I think that's probably more or less because of, I guess, our generation. Just because I think Instagram is a little more value, and also it's just all pictures and video. It's no text or anything.
So I don't even do Facebook or I think I have my stuff from Instagram posts over there.
Okay.
But I like to stay away from all the other stuff, and like you just said, with Instagram, it's you're looking at pictures of fish, art, whatever's on your feed, and it's just images, and there's not a whole lot of chatter. And I think it's a great way for artists to show off what they've created. So
yeah,
that's weird to say, but I probably wouldn't be doing art if I hadn't got the support and following from Instagram.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you have some mutual friends of ours, like John from Small Boat Club and Bent Rod Brigade. Like, there's almost like that clique of you guys over at Dana Landing. Whenever there's an event or going on or whatever, it's always you guys hanging out.
So John from Small Boat Club, he's kind of my right-hand man. I ended up blowing my engine last season, which was another reason why I wasn't out as much. But
he's a good dude.
He's a magical guy. he basically took me out last season, and his thing was, I'm putting you on a bluefin. Like, you haven't caught a bluefin yet. We're gonna do trips until you get a nice bluefin. So he's very generous in that situation, and he likes getting people out there that he wants to see people catch and enjoy. So yeah, he put me on it was like 130. We got a nice bluefin last season.
Nice.
On the kite, we sent it out. I'm learning a lot from the guy. The guy knows a lot too. He's down at the landing
Every day.
every day. So what does he get from that? He's getting intel. He's getting techniques. He knows all the new lures and all that stuff that comes out. So I'd say he's probably the one that I've learned the most off from fishing in the past few years. Yeah, he's a really good friend, really good guy. So, and then there's other people, like you mentioned, Bent Rump Brigade. Another guy, he was there from the beginning, kind of supporting me. I think he's got maybe a couple originals. He's got some skateboard decks, a bunch of prints, things like that. It was those kind of guys that got me hyped. Just being pumped and, hey, I want something. This is badass, and just commenting on my stuff and letting me know they appreciated it. Those were the kind of people that propelled me.
Yeah, and not to take anything away from John, because he's, like you said, super generous with his intel time. But there's a lot of people out there within the community, the fishing community, the whole industry.
Yep.
Where just fishing in general. I get a lot of I love catching fish myself. I love fishing in general, but I also find a lot of joy in putting other people on fish.
Yeah.
And helping them out too, especially when it's their first fish or whatnot.
Yeah, and I'm getting to that. It took me, I guess it took me kind of having kids and to be able to want to share that more with other people. I mean, there was that whole El Nino. I mean, I'd say 90% of those trips I was out there by myself. I wanted the fish, I wanted to pull on it. I wanted to catch it. I wanted to gaff it. I wanted to bring it home. And I was being selfish, I guess, but that's kind of the mentality that I fished that way for a long time. And then having kids, and I took, I think he was 4. He's 6 now, my youngest, Grayson. He's super pumped on fishing. So I take him out in the bay.
Start him young.
Get him on the sabiki.
Oh, wow.
He'll get a 7-pack on the sabiki, and it is lights out. He's got his little hat on over his eyes, and he's just yelling, hey bro, I'm bit. Are you bit, bro? And so by seeing that, it's definitely maybe more open to hey, this is a cool thing to share with other people.
Nice.
But I mean, I can't lie, because there was a lot of years where I was just like, I want that fish, and if there's other people on the boat, maybe they catch that huge fish that you've been spending hours of your time out there, days and planning and putting all this effort into it, and then all of a sudden your buddy comes out. He might not have fished for 2 or 3 months, and he's got the fish of a lifetime, and you're just like, fuck. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that that's not the way I was for a while. I was just a wild. I was a meat fisherman, right? I go out there. I want meat. I want to bring it home. I want to eat it. I want the joy of catching and all that stuff. But I've gotten a lot better, and fishing with like John and people like that made me realize there's a lot more fun to it, and maybe not be so hardcore in terms of just trying to catch a fish, and there's other joys of getting out on the boat and hanging out with your buddies and stuff like that.
The tide's changing, as you say that, where in the industry where we're wanting, of course, we want to catch the fish of a lifetime every time we go out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the priority it's shifting to where being out there is really the main goal.
Yeah.
Being out there with the guys that you like, just hanging out, having a good time. And if a newbie or a kid on the boat or even a lady on the boat that catches the jackpot fish, we're super stoked on it.
No, it's And to me, that's fishing. That's
Yeah.
what it should be about. And so it's good to kind of push in that direction, and fishing with people like John and other buddies that I go out with, it's kind of allowed me to learn that a little bit more, because I was one-minded, one-sided. I just wanted to catch the that fish and do it all myself. And I can tell you, sitting out in the water for 12 hours by yourself. Well, if you got the right buddy on the boat, it makes all the difference. You got the wrong guy on the boat, so. But
been there.
Fishing with good buddies is really what it's all about. And I feel as though with having kids and seeing that, it's made me more go in that direction.
When it comes to fishing, and art and all that, what's really like? What gets you going? Like, what's your inspiration?
Sure.
What do you draw from?
Sure. I think a big thing with fish and the fish that we see in the ocean here is it's colors to me. Colors are huge. I want to try and replicate what that fish looks like, and it's going to be impossible to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nature's a better artist than anybody, right? So it's going to be really tough to replicate what that fish looks like. So what I want to do with all my colors is I just want to, in my brain, mix them around and just make something and design something that reminds me of seeing those colors. It's not going to look like that fish, but in my mind when I'm doing it, I have that same excitement or joy, or just joy is probably not the right word, but the same desire to get those colors out onto that canvas. Lines are another huge thing for me. Fish are amazing. They've got these colors, but they've also got some pretty cool lateral lines, fins, things like that. So it's all those little things that I see on fish that I like to put into my art. One of my challenges is I don't necessarily look at reference pictures to begin with.
Okay.
I guess I kind of got a little bit of ADD where I can't sit down if somebody said, here's a picture of a marlin or something, or a yellowtail. I want draw exactly how you see it. I can't do that. So what I typically would do is think in my mind, what does a yellowtail look like? Draw it out, do everything I want to it, and then I'll take that picture and look at it and say, oh, well, I could tuck that fin in a little bit, add a little bit of color up here, and I'll kind of mesh it from there into where I want it to be. My styles changed a lot, where in the beginning I was doing just wild stuff. It might not even have looked like I've done a yellowtail out there. I'll look at it today and be like, what is that? What kind of fish is that? So I think over years, obviously, it's developed, and I've skill-wise gotten a lot better, and learned a lot of techniques and things like that. But it's really colors, lines, and movement, I would say, are the biggest things for me. Movement's a big one too, because when I see that fish or a painting of a fish, I want to, depending on some of the stuff I do is flat, but if I need to have it, say, going after a bait or something, I want to have him kind of moving, and how would that yellowtail turn to get that bait? I probably can't draw it, but I'm going to put lines on there maybe that make it look like it's going fast, turn its tail a certain way. So it's things like that, but the biggest thing for me is, I'd say, color, lines, and what was the other thing I said? Movement. So colors, lines, and movement.
As you say that, and I'm looking at your drawings right now, that totally makes sense, because there's not only a lot of color, the lines are super, super defined. And it's, it makes sense now. It really does.
And here's another thing of kind of the technique I'll do. I'll paint something, and somebody will look at it and they'll be like, oh, that's cool. And then I'll spray paint over part of it. So I got this fish complete. Somebody's like, oh, that's a cool looking fish. And then there goes the spray paint. Now half of it's spray painted over. Why'd you do that? And it's like a lot of adjustments like that I'll do. If there's a certain area I think I can do better, I'll just put paint over it. And so a lot of layering, I'd say. They don't necessarily look like that when they start. I'm getting better at getting how I want it to look, from sketch into coloring. But I mean, when I was starting, it was just kind of going haywire. It's everything you could throw at it. I got paint all over myself. I use business cards to move paint around. I got paint pens, spray paint. So it's just kind of a mess, man. To be honest, it's just, I kind of get in the zone and I don't really think too much when I'm doing it. It's just kind of getting in there and having fun with it.
Is each piece of yours unique where there's not going to be one of the same?
Yes,
nice.
Absolutely. So every fish I do will definitely be different. Colors are a lot of times going to be the same. How they're moving, or if it's just a head or this and that, but each one is definitely going to be unique in the fact that I just drew it from scratch. I'm not copying an image that I've used before, so yeah, everything I do is unique, I'd say.
Very cool, man. Well, is there any new stuff coming out in 2022 that we need to look out for from you?
Yeah, I have right now I've got a lot of the graphic design stuff going.
Okay.
So there's a lot of logos that are coming out from just, I got a gaff company. Just you guys are a huge help with that. But lots of little logos that guys need for their ventures. So a lot of that coming out. And then we're getting there. We've been trying to make shirts for 5 months now.
Okay.
I do have some designs that we're going to be pushing out on T-shirts. I just get a lot of people saying, "Hey, you need shirts, man. I want a shirt." The prints are great, but there's also a certain group of people that don't hang artwork in their homes.
Sure.
But they'll wear a shirt. So I do have that coming through. We went from paying somebody to create the shirts to saying, "Hey, let's cut out the middleman." And we're learning now how to screen print and do all that stuff from the very beginning. It's taken us like 3 months of just failures, a lot of time, a lot of frustration, but we're just about there. And the cool thing now is if I design something, I can put it on a T-shirt like that, and there's nobody else has to really be involved. It's not sending off a design to somebody to print on and getting the shirts and sending them back in. It's all done in my garage. So hopefully once that gets going, we'll see some shirts out there.
Yeah. Well, now that you say that, we'll definitely have to talk about a new logo or shirt or sticker for us for sure.
Yeah.
But what's the laundry list of what people can hit you up for? Like stickers, logos, shirts?
Yeah, right now there's stickers that I have, but my website's just getting finished right now.
Okay.
People always say, "Hey, I'm getting that thing finally done." It's the same thing. I have a brand new site with all the products on it. It just hasn't launched. There'll be prints on there. I think I got about 7 or 8 different prints, custom orders. So all my pricing's on there. You can see canvas sizes, what the costs are. Got a set of bookmarks I just did. So we took a bunch of paintings and just took a portion of them. For example, like that sheep head up there. It's just a bookmark going down over his eye and mouth.
Oh, that's
kind
cool.
of just vertical.
That's very cool.
So we've got those on there. Shirts, hats, and beanies. And then if there's any need for custom creations on the digital stuff. So it's weird. I see a lot more digital stuff coming through, and I think it's just the way art's changed a little bit, and the need for guys to say, "Hey, I want a cool logo for my business," or I want to have a shirt that looks, has fish on it and looks hand drawn, or that kind of thing.
Are you enjoying the digital stuff?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. The artist in me says it's not real art.
Okay.
And I have a lot of friends that do that stuff, right? And guys that are doing NFTs and all that stuff. Only reason I say that it's not real art to me is you don't have paint on yourself. It's not on your hands. You're not outside. You're not running around. You're not moving. You're not grabbing different tools to do stuff. You're sitting there in front of a small screen with one tool. I mean, obviously there's all sorts of brushes and things like that.
Sure.
But you're working on that computer. You're working on that iPad. when I got into art, everything about art was to get away from the computer. So that was kind of how I felt at the beginning. But now I'm seeing the possibilities and what some of these guys are doing with it, and the fact that it's becoming a lot more important, and there's guys that are killing it with the digital stuff. So I am getting into that, and there's going to be a lot more of that, I know, in the future. And there's NFTs. I don't know if you've heard about those. There's basically digital art pieces that people can buy that's tied to crypto, and
Oh, right.
there's all sorts of stuff going on with it. And to me personally, art was always about being outside, throwing paint, getting shit all over you, and half of my clothes, like my wife yells at me, if you go look through my closet, you can't find a shirt that doesn't have paint on it.
That sounds familiar when it's fishing too.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of one way I feel about it, but the other side of it is if you can do both, or maybe you just do digital art, maybe that's your thing. Who cares? Who cares what other people think? If that's the kind of art you want to do and that makes sense for you, do it, and that's how I feel about it. And I know it's not going away just from the fact I'm getting all these logo orders coming in. I'm working on one, just to kind of give you an idea, I'm working on one custom piece right now, and I think I've got 6 logo designs that I'm in the midst of creating. So it's been through Instagram. I do a logo, and then all of a sudden somebody else wants a logo, and it kind of just,
And it's all within your same style, right?
Yeah.
Like that graffiti-esque.
Yeah, and I think I get a lot of people saying it's style is they can notice my stuff as opposed to being next to somebody else's. A lot of people say, hey, you got this style and all this stuff. But to me, it's just my art, Yeah.
I could tell that you're kind of the guy that loves to get down and dirty, especially, whether it's on a fishing boat.
Yep.
Or
You got to
when
get
it's
in
out
it,
here.
man.
Yeah.
So, and we could talk for reasons why sitting in front of an iPad aren't good for future generation and stuff like that. I just wish there was more of getting outside, and actually doing it. And they're creating stuff right now where you could probably in a couple of years go catch a bluefin sitting in your bedroom. It's gonna be available. Now, why the hell would you want to do that? I don't know. But it's just this direction kind of the world's going right now where it's coming.
Never thought about it that way.
It's coming. And just getting into the digital stuff is really where I've started to learn about the NFTs, and it's scary. And the metaverse, I don't even wanna, but I feel as though you'll have to at some point be involved in all this stuff to a degree. But getting dirty is never gonna stop for me,
Well, Matt, this hour has flown by. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, man. One more time, how do we get a hold of some of your art? How do we get a hold of you? What's your Instagram?
So the Instagram is @Chovy_art, and then the website's going to be www. I don't even know if you need that anymore, but it's ChovyArt.com.
Okay.
And the new site should be up in a day or two. My old site's still up there with all the stuff on it, but we got something new in the works. So
very cool. And you're pretty open now, your schedule and all
that? Yeah. If it comes in, I'll take it.
Cool.
And then just a real quick thing, the CCA.
Yeah.
They've been a big help too. So I just wanted to say thank you to the CCA. There's a couple, more than a couple venues where I'm not a part of the CCA, but I've been welcomed in and been able to do some shows and things like that with you guys. And it's really helped in building my name. And
absolutely, man.
So I appreciate that.
No, for sure, man. We appreciate you. But Matt, it's been a pleasure, dude.
Yep.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, see you guys.
Awesome, guys. Well, that is it for this week. Once again, that was Matt from Chovy Art. Really, really appreciate you listening on today's episode. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, visit our website, ccacalifornia.org, and don't forget to become a member too. $35 a year to be a member of CCA. We certainly would appreciate it. My name is Chris, your host. Looking forward to next week. We will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.